Thank you. Thanks, Sudi. Thanks, Carla, for having me today. And thank you all for being here. So for those of you who don't know me, my name is Michelle, and I'm with the Center for Early Learning at the Silicon Valley Community Foundation. And just a quick synopsis of what we do. We see our purpose as twofold. One is how do we increase early childhood giving investments, so money for kids and families, and we do that through policy or through trying to influence philanthropy donations for early childhood. And then we also take a look at what some of the most emerging issues or most pressing issues that impact young children and families and see where we can add value, whether that's through research or convening, special initiatives, or all with the intent of how can we change systems and policies. Some of the things you might know that we have done is that we work on in partnership with many of you is the Big Lift or Choose Children. Before that, I used to work at First 5 San Mateo County, also at Raising a Reader, and First 5 Santa Cruz County. And I say all that just to say that much like you, my whole career has been in service to children and families. And what I'm here today to do is that though some of you who know me might not know that I also am a yoga teacher. I've been a yoga teacher for the last 8 years, specializing actually in prenatal yoga and regular yoga. And I also am a doula, a birth support doula. So for those of you who don't know what a doula is, we provide support for families throughout pregnancy and throughout childbirth. And so, again, much like all of you, I am in service to families both directly with them and then also thinking about on a more policy scale. And I want to share with you some exercises and techniques and things that I've done to help me stay strong for my own family. I'm also a mom. I have a 7-year-old and a 10-year-old. Would have helped me stay strong for my own family and for the families that I serve. And so with that, I just want to tell you how I got into yoga and what it has done for me. And I'm going to share a story, and just keep in mind that this space is a safe space to be authentic, so I'm going to share with you stories and things like that, and I hope I encourage you to do the same with each other and with me, and we'll go from there. So I've been doing yoga for a really long time, but it wasn't until about 8 years ago that I turned to yoga for meditation, and so that's why yoga has been so powerful for me. And meditation has been so powerful for me. And I've translated that also in my work with families, working with families. And because there are moments when there are things that are tough being with families, like being in the birthing room and things aren't going perfect. What do we do? How do I stay strong so that I can be that support for the family that's going through that difficult time? And so with that, I just want you to take a moment, share with each other a story of when your mind wouldn't stop racing. And maybe even specifically around maybe in the work that you're doing or anything like that. And some of you, I know it's hard to share something like right off the bat, so you can keep it as, when I was driving in today, I couldn't stop thinking about my to-do list. But really try and share something about what is making your mind, what makes your mind go. Okay, we'll take a few minutes, share with each other, maybe pair up first, maybe that'll be easier instead of doing it in a big group. So just turn to a neighbor, just do one person. Great. Well, thank you for sharing. And so when that's happening, it's hard for us to stay strong for the families that we're serving and for our staff that we're supporting. And so when that happens, some things that I do, and I want to share it with you, is I just take a moment and I do this now is now exercise. And so if you'll join me, you're just going to close your eyes. If you don't feel comfortable closing your eyes, you don't have to. And we're going to first just take a nice deep inhale and let it out. Good. And now just slowly becoming aware of all of the sensations you're experiencing. Just notice 5 things that you're feeling in terms of touch. Maybe the feeling of the chair against your thighs, your sweater on your wrist. Just truly acknowledging the feeling of touch. And now if your eyes are closed, maybe even noticing the dancing shadows that are behind the eyelids. And then the sound of the street outside, my footsteps. taste in your mouth. The smell of coffee. And if other thoughts arise, no big deal, it's okay. Just bring it back to the feeling of the floor against your feet, the smell of the coffee, the sound of the street outside. Deepening your breath if that feels right for you, maybe starting to lengthen each inhale and each exhale. Now is now. In this moment, and then when you're ready, slowly opening your eyes. Just taking a moment to pause. And if anyone would like to share how that felt or how you think you could use that either with your families or as you're working with families. All right, so this next exercise is fun. I hope you find it fun. I think it's fun. What we're going to do is I have these blindfolds, and you're going to pair up, and I want you to pair up from someone not in your group. So I want you to choose someone maybe across from your group, so we'll vary it up. So hopefully it's not someone you know. Yeah. So we only need one per pair, but I have 30, so you can all take one, and you can each take one home too if you want to. Raise your hand. Okay, so we all have partners. So I'm going to explain the exercise, and then we'll do it. So what we're going to do is one person's going to have the blindfold. It would be hard to have both, right? So one person's going to have the blindfold, and what you're going to do, and there's a lot of people in the room, and it's supposed to be chaotic. The other person who's not blindfolded is going to lead you by the hand around the room. And you're going to kind of not want to go, okay? So you're blindfolded. You're going to kind of hesitate because you don't want to go. And so the person who's leading you is going to have to direct you, but by the hand, though. And we'll start with that, okay? So one person, choose who's being blindfolded and put your blindfold on. Okay, coming back together. How can you... Thinking about that, actually, first let's just talk about how that felt for you. If you felt the difference between one or the other, being led by the hand or being led by the elbow, what were some of the different feelings you had? True, good. All right, so now we're going to do some tense and release exercises, because how many times have you notice that you might be holding tension? Well, you might be noticing tension, you might not even be realizing it. So sometimes I'll be lying in the dentist office, and next thing I know, I'm realizing that I'm squeezing my fists. And I'm like, oh, what am I doing? And they're just brushing my teeth. But but I'm like this, and it's like, oh, right, okay, I'm tense, and I don't even really know why. So a lot of us sometimes just walk around with tension, and we don't even notice it. So like walking around kind of like this all day, or you're listening to the radio and you're just like kind of gripping the steering wheel a little harder than really you need to grip the steering wheel, that kind of thing. And so so being able to recognize that tension and how do you release it is something that we're going to just do right now. And so what we're going to do first is we're just going to start with your toes, and you keep your toes in your shoes. You need to take your shoes off. But now just curl your toes, flex your calves, engage your quads, and squeeze your bottom. And then release. Good. Now make your fists with your hands. Engage your biceps, your arms. Lift your shoulders to your ears. And release. Good. Now open make a screw face with your mouth. Like with your face. And release. Good. Now we'll try and do all of it at once. So toes, curl, engage your quads, your bottom, your fists, your arms. Make a screw face with your mouth. And release. Good. And then now feel your shoulders up to your ears. And release. Good. Do you notice the difference? How does it feel good? Does it feel good to be able to recognize? So you're tensing up. So we'll just do it with our hands now. So curl your arms, curl your fingers, and tense it up. And now as you release, notice how good it feels to let the shoulders drop, open the hands. Right? Curl your toes, tense your legs, and be aware. Notice how good it feels to slowly let it go. Good. Do the whole body again. Curl your toes, your hands, your fists, and everything. And then really pay attention. Notice how good it feels to slowly release. And so next time you find yourself kind of like this, and that's the heart, is just, and if you're as partners, as friends, as colleagues, if you're walking around and you know, some of you might work together, if you notice that, the hardest, so in the doula world, when I'm with a family, and the wife is, the mom is having a hard time, and the partner says, just relax, honey. That is not helpful. And I don't think that's helpful for anybody in any situation where it's like, just relax, you're fine, right? So what can you do? You notice your partner, you're kind of stressed out, and if you're allowed to touch people, you know, it's kind of hard. But I think in our field, it's okay. You just put your hand just on the shoulder, just like that. And just a soft, just gentle touch on the shoulder. And just that little thing can help you realize, oh, right, I'm stressed out. You can even do it to yourself. So you notice you're like this, just kind of go. So raise your shoulders up, and then just go. And then maybe even take some circles. Good. And release. Any thoughts on that tense release exercise and how you can translate that into working with your families? Would you use that with your families at all?
I think kids would get a kick out of it.
Yeah, they do. You're right, they do. In kids' classes, they love it. In the kids' yoga classes that I teach, they think it's really, really fun. Yeah, they like the screw face thing. Would any of you else, any others of you use that in any way? No? Okay. So the reason why I bring it up is because before we can be strong for families and before we can learn to relax, I'm using that word, relax and recharge for ourselves, we need to be able to recognize when we're holding that tension. Because if we're constantly holding that tension, then we can't do our own recharge and really be strong for families. Okay. So this next one is going to be interesting. It's going to be fun, but we need to make sure there's nothing on the floor like coffee cups and stuff. If we could put them maybe either in the corner or against the wall. And yeah, put the bags away. To the sides. Okay. So what we're going to do, and it might be a little crazy, no, keep the little pods. But you are going to get rid of a couple chairs. So we're going to essentially play musical chairs in your little pod. Okay? So, however, so you need one less chair than people in your pod. Does that make sense? If you had 4 people in your pod, you only have 3 chairs. All right. So this next thing is also sometimes kind of what you were mentioning before. How do you find some space? Or you do that by setting an intention. And so this next exercise is going to just help us find our own space. Because sometimes we have so much going on, it sort of feels like we're being bowled over by everything. And so this next exercise is just to help us find some space, even if it's just for a few minutes. So again, I'll ask you if you feel comfortable doing so to close your eyes. Maybe feet on the flat on the floor. Taking a nice deep inhale and exhale. Feel how securely your body has come to rest. Today we are going to create a space of your own. Imagine that you're able to breathe in through every part of your body. You can't really do that, but try and pretend. While you're there, with your eyes closed, let your thoughts go to your head and breathe into the space above it. Create space for yourself. The space above you is yours. It belongs to you. Now we do the same thing with the space in front of you. There is air in front of you. That space that belongs to you. Breathe outward and feel how large you want that space in front of you to be. And for each of you, it'll be different. It can be as big as you like, but some of you might want to keep it small. Now we do the same behind us. Behind, there is also a space that belongs to you. Breathe into that space and make it your own. This makes you a bit bigger. We have space above us, in front of us, and behind us. Now we have to make space at the sides. First on one side, there is space that belongs to you. Breathe into that space. Now on the other side. Feel the ground underneath you. That is also part of your space. Now you are in a bubble of space and you can feel the ground. This is your place. This is where you are safe. And you can make your space as large as you want it. It is your own space. And slowly opening your eyes. Thoughts, reactions. Okay, so this next exercise is going to focus on self-compassion. And how do we practice self-compassion in order for us to stay strong for families? I know it's heavy. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is just first think about how would you treat a friend? So thinking about when a close friend, maybe think of your best friend, whoever that might be. Maybe it's your sister, mother, best friend, spouse, whoever that may be. And think about your kid. Or in some way, you think someone you love is feeling bad or is having a really, really hard day or struggling in some way. How do you respond to them? Write down what are some things that you do to respond to them. Okay. So for many of us, myself included, mine are very different. Like how I would treat my spouse or my kids if they make a mistake is very different than how it's that whole should talk. Oh, I should have done that. I should have done that. Or how come I didn't do that? And so self-compassion is really trying to think of it in making yourself treat yourself like how you would treat your friend, your loved one, when they are suffering. Like when they're suffering, how do you respond to them? Because how do you respond to yourself when you are suffering? And I think one of the things that some people think, like yoga teachers, like, oh man, they don't suffer, and it's not that, and it's not that like you're so calm all the time, and you're just so, and it's not that, it's just that it's being able to recognize that like everyone suffers. And I'm using the word, this word, it's kind of a hard word, suffer. What do you mean? I don't suffer. I mean, but we all do. I mean, that's the existence of life, is suffering. I know it sounds kind of too, anyway, and so, but we're all suffering in our day-to-day life in some way or other, and it's the recognition that we are all suffering, and we have moments of suffering, and being able to respond to that and be with that and accept that and be a part of that and hold that and have a sense of compassion for yourself. So I bet you, I think many of you mentioned that when someone is having a hard time, you give them a hug, or you do something, you just be with them. How many times do you just hold yourself And what does that mean? What does holding myself really mean? And so we're going to do an exercise right now where we're just going to learn to hold ourselves. And it's going to feel weird. For me, when I first did this, I'm like, this is weird. And it might feel really weird for you. And it's okay. But we're gonna try. Okay? So you can put down all your paper and everything. And hit feet. Try to uncross your legs. And this is a self-compassion break. So you can do this throughout your day at any point. So now think of a situation in your life that's difficult or causing you stress right now. And we all have them, whatever it is. And then see if you can, and this is kind of antithesis to everything that we just did, but see if you can actually feel that stress in your body that you're holding. Maybe close your eyes if you feel comfortable doing so. And then say to yourself something along the lines of, this is a moment of suffering. Or this hurts. This is stress. And then now think suffering is a part of life. That's common in humanity. Other people feel this way. Other people are feeling this way now. I am not alone. Now put your hands over your heart. And just feel the warmth of your hands and the gentle touch of your hands on your chest. And just say to yourself, may I be kind to myself. Think about, what do you need to hear right now to express kindness to yourself? For everyone, it'll be different. May I be strong. May I be patient. May I give myself the compassion that I need. May I forgive myself. May I learn to accept myself as I am. And slowly releasing your hands onto your lap. Taking a nice deep inhale. And let all the air out. Do that one more time. Nice deep inhale. And out. Good. And slowly opening your eyes. Anyone want to share? Reactions, thoughts? You don't have to. Okay. All right, so now we're going to do some chair yoga. So we're going to just take all that, we're going to stretch, we're going to just be with our bodies and do some stretching and flexibility and have some fun, okay? Thank you, everybody. So I'm a little early, but thank you. It's my honor and my privilege to be with each of you. And Be steady, be happy, be well. Thanks.